Hi, I'm Kim. Hopefully you've been following along as we've been making this Kumiko panel and this frame. The next step in this process is how to do the paper backing on the Kumiko panel. And so the important steps are really going to be around how to apply the glue so that there isn't overspray on the panel as well as on the paper, and then the delicate fitting it into the actual frame. And then the last step is making sure you have a nice consistent reveal all around. And then I just want to give you a quick little view of what the back side looks like so we know what we're aiming for. Hope you'll follow along. Let's get going. I'm outside now because this spray adhesive by 3M is a little stinky, so I like to spray it out here. I've just got a big oversized cardboard box. You can see the previous Kumiko that I did. So I'm gonna spray it there. You can even see some initial pencil lines. So I had a rough idea of where I was aiming to get the adhesive. And then I'm gonna pat this on top of the wet spray adhesive. And then I'm gonna go in and press it to the paper. Nice. And then a lot of times if you will actually spray this upside down for a brief second, it helps clear it. And then I also just tap it right there so that nothing really gunks up in there. And then I'm gonna grab this. You wanna make sure that you're grabbing the top surface. So I can confirm that by turning it around. And you can see that that's the back and that's the one corner. This is gonna go down on in here. Just do a little pressing. This might be overkill because I didn't actually do any pressing when I took the class with Mike Pekovich, but this is such a big panel. I want to make sure that I have it well. And then I need to lift this up. There we go. That first coat, I can really tell, is making a difference because it's wanting to adhere to it. This was not as big of a deal on my first one. I'm gonna use 2 hands. The second set of hands, I was able to pry that up. You can see some areas are pretty thick. Wherever it's really thick, I did run a finger along it on the very edge to make sure that none of these wispy glue adhesives were gonna show on the front side. Lay your paper flat, then make sure you have the top side of the panel facing up and the glue side facing down. Pick a location that you like. It might take a few little views or rotations to pick out your favorite spot that highlights the natural fibers the best. When you finally pick out a spot that you like best for the panel, press it flat against the paper. There's no pulling it off at this point, so make sure you like that spot. Then flip the panel over and pat it with a flat hand to get nice adhesion on the back side of the Kumiko panel. You want to make sure that you don't press too hard on the voids of the panel because you could press some through or accidentally tear your paper. I went ahead and snipped off a piece of loose natural material that wasn't adhered to the paper. I grabbed a cutting mat. In my situation, it was just a flat plastic cutting board so that I could use it as a backer so I wouldn't cut up my countertop while flushing up the paper. Here is a quick, fast time lapse of what it was like for me to flush up the sides. I'll give you a more in-detail play-by-play here in a second. For the more in-detailed description of each of the steps, I like to do short little controlled strokes at each of the corners to cut the paper. recommend having a very sharp new X-Acto blade for this step, as it'll give you a nice crisp line without having to apply too much pressure. In this example, I'm doing one long continuous cut. In some of the other time lapses, you'll see that I just do short little sections that I'm working at. What's unique about this Kumiko panel is that the paper needs to be slightly proud, as the cross pieces in it are slightly proud of the border. So I'm not actually making a flush cut. Now that all the extra paper is removed, I'm getting a chance to inspect my work up close and see how it came out. One of my top priorities upon flipping the panel over is to mark my orientation lines so that I know which corner to match up with my frame. I line the Kumiko panel up with the frame, and then I very gently get the corners set in, and then I slowly add pressure all around. You can tell what a snug fit I have based on how squeaky it is to even get it to go down in. At this point, I'm looking at areas that I may want to apply a little bit more pressure to the paper to get it to stick better to the backside of the Kumiko panel. It's very important to not apply too much pressure to these areas, as you can essentially develop air bubbles on the other side if you press too hard in those voids. Next up is setting a consistent reveal for the Kumiko panel inside the frame. I start out with nesting it about midway in, and then I'm going to take out my combination square and set it to a desired height, and then I'm going to use that desired height to go around to many locations and try to get a consistency. This process is a little slow and tedious. Mind you, it took less than 5 minutes, but there is a lot of double checking and having to get your eyes super close in order to get it consistent all the way around on all sides. I'm aiming to do lots of little controlled movements with my fingers as I try to push the panel forward. I'm being very careful with my fingertips to make sure I'm only pressing right below where the Kumiko panel is located, as I'm really wanting to make sure that I don't bubble out that paper. I will share the next few rounds of making micro adjustments sped up so that it doesn't get too tedious for the viewer to observe the process. I am now doing a final look over on the back side, trying to do a little bit of micro adhering the paper. None of it looked bad, but I just wanted to make sure that it had good connection now that I was done inserting the Kumiko panel. I also spent a quick moment looking at a little area that I had applied a little too much pressure earlier in the process that had bubbled in a tiny bit. I tried just using a pencil eraser, something soft, to give it a little press back. Honestly, it didn't make that much of a difference just because it pressed the bubble backwards, but it's not like it got rid of it. Close-up of this one in. It went in really nice. Took me about 12 minutes to do it all from the time I set up my camera to put the paper on the back and to cut all the sides as well as insert it. I think that there's a few spots that I could have used just a tiny bit more adhesive, but I also just have some bigger pieces of natural material in here, and I think that just makes a few things a little bumpy. As far as you can kind of see the paper go in and out right there. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video, and hopefully you'll check out more videos in the Kumiko making series.